Here we go.
All right, everyone. So, welcome to yet another episode of Milkcast. Actually, George, would you mind? Oh, yeah, okay. So, this is Genocide George here, being the
What's up?
co-caster this time around. His mic has a little bit of static, so I am going to ask him if he can turn down his mic boost yet another time. Just do that in your recording settings, just so you know we get the high fidelity audio and everything.
Yeah, so it's,
Anyway, so we are here. I think this is the second day of Milkcast after I made that big submission on Reddit, which got 22,000 views by the time it finally got off the front page. So, quite a lot of interest in these Reddit in-house games. If you're watching the stream, or maybe if you're watching the VOD on YouTube a couple days after this has been streamed, we are going to be streaming games for almost, I think, probably every day. I'm not free every day to do this, but almost every day. The games will be streamed and organized from the Reddit in-house channel. So if you want to go idle in that, that's for now. It's only on the North American server, but go ahead and join Reddit in-house, and you can get in on some of these games we are casting. Also, the milkcast.com website has a web chat, an IRC, which I will be leaving idle. So if you come into Reddit in-house and I'm not around and you want to talk to me, please don't add me on friends. Please instead drop me a message in that IRC. Much easier for me to talk to you that way. So yeah, anyway, here we are. BMT Gaming on blue team with that first pick, first ban. We did see them play yesterday, and they did a very job of staying coordinated. So they're about, I think, around an average of 1450, 1500 elo, but they are a very coordinated team.
1490 actually.
Say again?
It was actually average of 1496, I believe.
Oh,
And
wow. What do you mean, I believe? That's like
might be
saying
1487. I
that's
can't
like
remember
saying
exactly.
it's 1,017 years old approximately. No, that's not approximately. That's not an I believe statement. Anyway, so purple team this is actually the first straight 5v5 team game we've seen. Purple team claims that their team name is Team Poop. I don't really appreciate, or I don't appreciate that name, and I don't know if they are trolling or not. However, Poopster, I think one of the better players on that team. We have seen him join a couple of in-houses so far. Looks like Purple Team maybe didn't want to let Blue Team go for that Maokai pick, which they used very well. Also able to pick up the Janna, which is of course a strong pick for disengages. But
I've seen
yeah,
Nautilus pick here. That's Nautilus is actually one of the best junglers in my opinion at the moment. He has a lot of disruption and is actually incredibly tanky. So it also does a lot of damage for a tank. So it's definitely a good pick there.
yeah. This is, by
Definitely
the
good.
way, like most great casting duos, you've got me doing the kind of the on-screen action, so I'll be casting, what's actually going on in the fights, and then of course you always want to have a little bit yin to your yang. So Genocide George going to be joining me on this one for his high elo commentary. What's your elo right now? Just in case maybe the people watching at home are interested.
It's 2.5k divided by 2.
Divide by 2. Okay, cool.
Yep.
That's a nice way of kind of
Yeah. Interesting that Ash is going for a heal cleanse.
I don't know about that, honestly.
Against a Maokai. I don't think that's the best idea. But they do have a Nautilus and a Riven, so they have a lot of peel on this team just with those two champ picks.
Yeah, I don't like the cleanse pick in general because
Yeah.
I think
It's just not as strong as QSS.
well, that's the thing. It is a very strong spell. So, for instance, if you are hit by an Ash arrow, which Ash is not going to be hit by because she's Ash, and this isn't blind pick, so there's only going to be one Ash in this game. But if you get hit by an Ash arrow, you can use that cleanse to negate the stun and the slow effect on that. However, if you get hit by a suppress, you can't. If you get hit by an ignite, you will cleanse the healing debuff, only the damage. And more importantly, the reason I say that is because Mordekaiser on the other team, his ulti can be QSS. It cannot be cleansed. So
Yep.
picking up cleanse and a QSS is just sort of an inefficient way to do it. I'd rather use that defensive summoner spell for heal. and then just pick up a cleanse. Probably after your IE Zeal is a good time to pick it up, in my opinion.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
don't really lose a lot of damage. If you want it a bit earlier than that, you can go IE into QSS and maybe pick up a green elixir, which has actually similar stats to a Zeal, only doesn't obviously doesn't last forever. It only lasts for a couple minutes. So looks like we have now seen all 10 players lock in. Just gonna
Yep.
go
So
over
we're gonna have a
the
solo top Udyr here and mid Mordekaiser, which is a lot of damage on this team.
yeah. So I think bot lane we're gonna see a Soraka support supporting that Ashe. That is gonna be against Janna MF. MF, a very good pick against Soraka because of her healing debuff on that W, her impure shots. So interesting to note also, neither of these champs have an escape. Ashe and MF. One of the, I think both earlier champ designs, and really
Yeah.
I think Riot has put a lot of work into designing their AD carries with sort of an escape mechanism. Champs like Ezreal, Graves, Tristana. Anyway,
That's a big mistake. It's
yeah.
part, but whatever.
I like
I
champs
don't
with
think any
escapes.
carry should have escapes.
I do.
It's silly in my opinion. It
Why?
completely removes the purpose of positioning. But yeah,
Right, but I don't know. I think that it's balanced because in a team oriented game where you kind of have your team appeal for you, it's without a doubt Ashe one of the strongest champs in terms of utility. Kog'Maw one of the strongest champs in terms of damage. So
yeah.
it's like, I guess they do balance the champs without an escape to be a little bit stronger. It's just that in solo queue it's nice to have that champion with an escape because you're going to have an idiot for a support who never peels. Anyway, this is thankfully not solo queue. It is a 5v5 team game, so we should see a higher level of coordination than that. Maybe gonna be able to peel for the carries. In terms of the peel kind of potential for both teams, I'm gonna give it to Purple. They have that Janna, arguably the best peeler in their game, with her shield for the carry just to keep them alive, kind of against burst damage and give them a nice chunk of AD. Also, her knock up, her Q is an AoE, and her ulti, her knock back is an AoE. And then of course does have that slow for some of the more kiteable melee champs.
That being said, though, blue team does have some pretty decent peel. With Nautilus has slow, massive knock up. His passive is actually quite significant, and he does have a pullback kind of thing. Ashe does have her own ultimate and volley to peel. There's a Ari charm, and Riven's 2 stuns. So both teams have a significant amount of peel.
I think the thing is, Janna almost always uses her ulti as a peel. Very, very rarely do you see Janna's use the ulti offensively in a late game team fight. Although it does happen, of course, especially if you're far ahead and don't feel you need that peel. So I think that there is a slight advantage for Purple, but that's not to say that blue team doesn't have an ACC. They also have the advantage of having a ton of burst heal from Soraka with that W and her ulti, able to keep that Ashe very, very healthy. In the jungle, we do see a Nautilus squaring off against a Maokai, both of them very low damage, well, not very low damage, medium damage, but very, very high CC, very gank-oriented junglers. Nautilus a little bit stronger post 6. Top lane, we are going to see Udyr against Riven. Mid lane is going to be Ahri against Mord. We'll see how this goes. Mord, really one of the farm heavy champs, but actually not a whole lot of kill potential. Unless if you know how to kind of play that matchup. So we are going to go ahead and get in game. By the way, especially the people playing in this game, it'd be awesome if you guys could just help me publicize Milkcast a little bit, send it to all your friends and everything. We are going to be streaming, I think I want to say I'm free for the next 4 hours to stream this. Yesterday, we did 6 hours of casting, Kaiser, Wilhelm, and I. It was absolutely insane. We got a number of games going off. It was really fun stuff. So here we go. My client is being a little bit it's doing that thing it sometimes does. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this. You can see the IRC is open. Only 5 people in it right now. These are the people I've been talking to.
There's an IRC? Ooh.
Yeah, there's an IRC. And if you go on milkcast.com, actually, I'll bring that up now that I have nothing to really show on stream. Let's see here. Firefox.exe. Make that visible. Come on. Where is it? I have this stream privacy program. so I can't actually view my Firefox window. Anyway, head over to milkcast.com. You should be able to see a web chat option on that IRC that even if you don't have a client, you can still get into the IRC, talk to the people, talk about the game, and then if you're looking for me, if you want to get in on one of these games, go ahead and drop me a message. Just type my name and it will show up for me as a private message. So we are maybe going to see a little bit of an invade here. We used to see a couple pings going down. I think I'm going to maybe give the advantage to blue team just because they have that Ashe pick. Ashe passive already built up to a 39% crit. If she waits another 30 seconds or so, that is going to hit a 100% crit chance on that first auto attack she throws out, which is huge in a level 1 team fight. If she can hit, let's see, Misfortune, 37 armor, not too squishy. Janna 31, Mordekaiser 33. It's actually a lot of armor on the side of purple team. Their AP mid is of course a melee, and it looks like both of their bot lane, you know, the AD carry in the sport, did properly rune. However, if you see someone like the Ahri has 15 armor right now. So if the purple team had a squishy AP caster, that is just such an advantage for Ashe. She could put that crit down and the volley, deal about 250 or so damage, physical damage, which is not really mitigated a whole lot by that early armor that a squishy ranged champ has. Pretty beefy team from purple this game, though. I think that may be a problem for blue. Ahri, more of an assassin, and at least really the way I like to play her is more of an assassin. Her kit is very much built towards it, and as an assassin, you do get countered a lot by tankiness. So we'll see. Maokai doing this.
Great in this team.
Who is great?
I don't think the Ahri pick was a great choice against this team.
Yeah, I can't remember when that Ahri was picked. Was she picked first? Applefin, by the way, doing a nice job of getting some auto attacks in onto the Mordekaiser. You do see, especially at kind of lower levels of play, people don't realize how strong those auto attacks are. Her auto attacks are dealing 53 damage right now. Her spell is dealing about 80. Obviously the spells are going to be doing a little bit more damage, but it's not a very wide margin. By the way, we do see Maokai did start over at his rates, which is going to give him a little bit more XP and gold than the Nautilus. Slightly faster jungle clear times. Also, slightly stronger earlier game ganks. I think Maokai with his ulti, it's a very defensive ulti, whereas Nautilus is a very, very offensive, high CC kind of gank-oriented ulti. So we'll see what Maokai's able to do. Just putting down a nice sapling at his Wraith camp to make sure he's not going to get counter jungler. But Nautilus, really not the strongest counter jungler. Both of the junglers starting with regrowth and a health pot. Nautilus going to go over for his red. One smite is up. Maokai going to do the same. Looks like both junglers are just going to go for an early level 4 before doing any ganking, as opposed to maybe a Lee Sin, a Pantheon, an Alistar jungle, which does a lot more.
A lot of harass coming to Riven top lane.
Yeah, and this is good for purple though, because I think Riven might feel a little confident, and that Maokai is in that Bob Rush. This could be a first blood. We do see no bear stance on Udyr. Maybe a little bit of a mistake there, and instead Riven just gonna go for the flash. However, not the biggest handicap for Riven, as she does have her Q and her E. Sort of each of those. Q you can use 3 times, E you can use once. It's sort of 4 mini flashes. So should still be able to do a decent job running away from these Maokai ganks. Looks like bot lane is fairly pushed, and there is no wards for purple team in the lane. There is this lane, this tri-brush ward. Also no wards in river. So if Nautilus maybe had some communication with his team, he might know to kind of go the long way around the river, hug this top wall, and then he won't get spotted on the ward. Alternatively, he could go just through that bot lane brush and sneak up, as they are very pushed. Does look like he's maybe going to go for mid. Mordekaiser, of course, pushing very hard. His shield is down. However, Ahri only has enough mana for a charm. Not gonna really.
Interesting that Ahri is actually falling behind in CS and is very, very low mana at the moment.
Mordekaiser doing a decent job getting that poke out. Ahri, I think really what she wants to do is buy a ward one side of the brush, either one side of the river, sorry, above or below. and then hug that side of the map. Looks like Maokai is coming in for a gank mid though. A flash and then a stun. That is going to be first blood for sure. Very nice gank from Maokai. Wanted to get the element of surprise, so what he did was he actually flashed over that wall to get the root in. I love it. When the enemy AP mid is overextending, it's great that a jungler can just flash in and really go super aggressive and trade his flash for a kill, which is exactly what that Maokai did.
I used a flash and it was a bit, I think it was unnecessary. She was likely to die either way.
She was gonna die. Although, by forcing that flash, she did also get the flash of the Mordekaiser, and I think an Ahri without flash at level 6 is a lot safer than a Mordekaiser without flash at level 6. Because of
we might see a lane gank here from Maokai, he's picking top lane.
Oh yeah. And
Riven
doesn't have any vision on that. I'm going to switch over to the view of blue team. Let's see if Udyr decides to push. Oh, and actually, the E is used. The flash is still down. That could have been a good time for gank. However, the lane is pushing. If Riven goes for this CS, that might be the time. She's just used her Q, and I think a little bit of miscommunication. Maokai just going to be in this brush. However, Riven doesn't have that information, so she's going to play a little bit more passive.
She was Nautilus top lane.
Nautilus is up top, however that lane is very pushed, and Nautilus is still only level 4, so not going to be able to use his ulti for that CC. Also not really ganking from the proper side. I think he probably should have maybe gone behind if he wanted to get a gank, but I honestly think you're not going to kill an Udyr when he has a 2-level advantage and cloth armor. Looks like the ulti is used. Is the charm gonna hit? The ignite goes off. I think a little bit of misplay from the Ahri. Maokai might be able to pick up a kill here.
Nah.
Yep, he does.
Wow, actually managed to do it.
Yep. Unfortunately for Mordekaiser, that Children of the Grave, Mordekaiser's ulti, of course, provides him with a controllable ghost, which has a portion of the enemy's HP and a portion of their AD, so it sort of gives him control over an enemy champion once they die, but that did expire right before Maokai picked up a kill. But still, this Mordekaiser is certainly in the dominant position right now. He has
I just like to point out what Mord's doing here. See how he pushes a lane, right, and denies XP and gold to the enemy mid lane, and then goes up and takes his own rates? That actually puts him about 60-ish gold ahead of the enemy mid every single time he does it. And while it doesn't seem like a lot, 60 gold is what, 2 health pots-ish. And every single time you do it, it actually stacks up more and more and more, which is
well, 65
really
gold is about half of a wave.
Yeah.
But it is also interesting to know that even just with the CS he's getting from lane, he does have 71 to Ahri's 28, so very, very, very far ahead in terms of gold. He also has those 2 assists, 2.7k to 1500, so about a 1.2k gold lead. As that Will of the Ancients completed already, Ahri only having 2 Doran's rings. I think what blue team might want to do, a lot of Mordekaisers get very, very cocky when they get into this free farm mode. I think if blue team were to put a ward down at their own jungle ramp, top lane getting ganked, but I don't think they're really going to be able to make anything out of it. Riven with her escapes. Oh, actually, maybe going to be able to turn this around. Forced to flash away from that Bear Stance, Tiger Stance Udyr, which does a deceptively
Oh, he did miss the kill bot lane. Nautilus managed to land a really, really nice grab on Janna, and Janna just got insta-geared by the Ashe crit plus volley combo, which is actually very, very potent. People don't understand how much damage Ashe can do very early game with those 2 Doran's blades. She got 102 AD, assuming she 2190 or 2109.
Nautilus, by the way, also using his ulti down there to pick up that kill.
Yeah.
Which, so now purple team has a ward. Mordekaiser just dropping a ward down over at these raids. Doesn't give him view of race, but gives him view of whether the enemy jungler is there. My cat wants to go outside, so I'm going to leave this. Look at the action mid, see if Mordekaiser can maybe just push and go for race yet again. I'm going to let my cat out in a second.
Yep, so some pings are up in the blue team's jungle from red team. Yes, I am casting Ezreal.
Was he like, George? No way. Oh, Ahri actually using her ulti, forcing the flash of Maokai.
Flash from Maokai. Very, very scared.
Yeah. Gonna go ahead and take up this blue buff. They don't have it warded. They do throw the sapling, and they know it's still there, but it is pulled into this brush, and I don't think there's really... Oh, but the camp resets. Blue team needs to do a good job of keeping this here for Ari.
Could be a steal.
It just reset.
Nice hook from Ethereal there. But a lot of damage going to him from that Mordekaiser. And Udyr coming down, so this will probably be a blue buff steal.
Yeah. Looks like Nautilus isn't going to be around to steal it, and Ari has used her ulti to try and force that flash. A little bit of misplay here from blue team. They did reset that camp, and that blue buff is going to go to Udyr. Scales decently with the cooldowns. Mordekaiser also very cooldown reliant, but he doesn't have the mana that Udyr has. He is a mana.
I think it's going to be a lot of trouble for Riven top lane. Udyr is actually very, very mana reliant top lane, and if you give him that blue buff, he can just spam his Tiger, Turtle, and Bear Stand, so that could hurt Riven a lot.
Yeah, really what it does is it removes the need for him to go into Turtle stance to get his mana back up, and he can instead commit entirely to Tiger stance, because it doesn't look like he needs that Turtle stance for anything other than mana. He's keeping very high on health. Hasn't actually gone back to buy yet, which I think is a little bit...
He does have 87 armor compared to Riven's 55 and 119 AD, so...
Yeah, but also Riven with that 57 MR, Tiger Stance Udyr does a lot of magic damage. That an extra 180 plus 144, around 350 magic damage over the course of 2 seconds. So lots of damage coming off of this Tiger Stance Udyr. You usually see Phoenix Stance Udyrs these days because he usually is played as a jungler. However, Tiger Stance up in top lane, very, very good way to play the champion.
Mordekaiser just farming those way. Oh well, actually, Mordekaiser doesn't have a single point in his Mace of Spades.
That's strange.
Really odd. Yeah. Like he's level 10, he has 5 points in his Softened Destruction, and 4 in his Creeping Death. So
interesting.
No, going pretty well for him.
Yeah. Actually, missing a CS. Oh no, he was able to pick it up. No, I don't know about that. That is very interesting. However, Mace of Spades is actually Mordekaiser's highest single target damage spell. If you find someone in the jungle and hit him with that and it doesn't bounce, it does a lot of damage. Nautilus picking up an early Oracles for blue team, which Purple hasn't yet done. Maokai instead going for those mobility boots. Lots of damage going down onto the... Who is that? Onto the Ari, sorry. Mordekaiser, I think maybe the lack of sustain on Ari is just really killing her right now.
Mordekaiser's stealing Wraiths now. This is going really well for Mord. He has 123 CS to Ari's 124 to Ari's 53.
Yep.
So kudos to him.
Yep. I think that blue steal really put Ari behind. She is very low on mana all the time, and she doesn't have any sustain. Instead, deciding to go for Sork Boots. I don't think that's the right call. Sork Boots obviously dealing more damage, but against an 87 MR Mordekaiser, who is always at full health and has around 420 extra health on the shield, you really aren't going to be looking for damage right now. I think she just wants to farm because she's 53 CS, which is a 80 CS disadvantage for her. Sorry, 70 CS disadvantage. Really what she wants to do is maybe pick up a Revolver or Will of the Ancients. Mordekaiser, not a whole lot of burst damage, just lots and lots of poke.
Nautilus really wants his gank on bot lane.
Yeah, he does spot this pink ward. He might get flanked here by the MF and the Janna. Mordekaiser also coming down from up top. This could be bad. He is, I think, going to flash the wall. But you don't want to necessarily give up a free flash. Her blue team actually in a decent position to fight this. Although Ari going from the wrong direction, an ulti going down, an Ash Arrow going down. Looks like Janna might go down here. Ari gonna use her ulti. Ash going down, going onto the Janna. The Maokai does fall. Dragon aggro switches over to Nautilus. They might also be able to pick up this Misfortune. A nice slow going down. That is certainly gonna be a kill from Ash. There it is. Nicely done from blue team to kind of put themselves maybe a little in the lead here. Although Mordekaiser, I believe, still has his ulti. No, he doesn't. He used it, and I don't think he got the ghost. This is a lot of trouble. Mordekaiser, if he can't keep that shield up, does go down very fast. They should really chase this and pick up the kill here, because that Mordekaiser is just spiraling out of control. Nautilus didn't want to commit, instead wants to go and head over to Dragon. a nice heal onto the Nautilus is going to give them a little extra armor, but instead they actually have Ash tanking Dragon. Not the best idea because not only will it deal a lot of damage to her, she is quite squishy, but also it reduces her attack speed. So it is going to slow down their Dragon clear time. However, it doesn't look like Purple Team wants to really go for the test here. They are sort of out of position. That is going to be a Dragon for Blue. We are going to see it respawning at about 21:15. So maybe if the teams get the timer, you are going to see maybe a 5v5 fight at around the 21 minute mark. That was actually very good for Blue Team. It equalized. Purple had a huge gold lead because of those.
About 2.6.
They had a kill advantage, and they've also been out farming each lane. So a Dragon is a very nice way to kind of give a little bit of extra strength onto each of your champs. 190 gold AG for Blue, about a minion wave and a half. So push the Ahri at 3.3k, Mordekaiser at 4.7k. So about a 1400 gold lead still on this Mord, but we might see that closing, especially if we can get some extra jungle ganks. 3 Doran's rings onto Ahri. I guess she did need the mana regen because she has been her blue has been denied. Hoopster gonna look like maybe he wants to steal this blue, but instead Maokai has it locked down. Maokai instead gets the steal, picks up that blue buff, and it looks like Mord was just kind of waiting there to see, is Nautilus coming? Is Ahri coming? Because I think if he gets into melee range, his whole combo at the moment might actually be able to one-shot someone with his Ignite. Although his Ignite is down. Anyway, we see also, unfortunately for Ahri, she is about 30-40 AP short of being able to one-shot these creep waves. Once she has that ability, I think you're going to see her farm catching up to Mordekaiser quite heavily. She is going to decide to go out and farm the race. Could be a 2v2 fight up top. There's a 2-level advantage on Udyr. He's quite far ahead.
He wants to go back.
Yeah, and Nautilus, I think, doesn't want to lose this Oracles. Pinging the back. I don't know about that ping. I think, she was just gonna be out of there.
Look at the CS right now. Purple Team has 3 champions above 100 CS. Mordekaiser's actually 167 at the moment. Whereas Blue Team only has the Ashe above 100 on 130. And Ahri and Ribbon still just hitting 90. So it's a big gold advantage in terms of last hits.
It is also interesting to note that while picking up a Dragon will give everyone gold, it does give you, oh wow, an ulti going down from Nautilus onto the Mordekaiser. Does the charm connect? Oh, and a counter gank from Mao. This could be a lot of trouble. Ashe is, however, there with that ulti. This is probably going to be a double buff going to Ahri. Finally picking up that blue, and it looks like the perma-slow. Oh, but lots of damage going to go down onto the Nautilus. And it looks like that Misfortune ult is going to miss Ethereon. Would have certainly picked up, oh, but so much damage coming on to Soraka, even with that passive giving her a little extra MR. Ribbon coming in, gonna deal a significant amount of damage, finally picks up the kill onto the Mordekaiser, and unfortunately a little bit of a late ulti from John, not quite able to save the Mordekaiser's life. Udyr, meanwhile, very, very, very dominant up in this top lane. A 40 CS gold lead, and was able to take down the turret when Ribbon went to help stop that kill. And that turret is definitely going to bring the gold advantage even further in Purple's favor after those kills. So very good play from Udyr. He didn't follow Ribbon down, which might have been the best decision. However, doesn't really matter. Taking the turret not only gives you some gold to make up for those deaths you lost, but it also gives you kind of the advantage in map control. And we'll see how Purple Team is able to exploit this. What I'd like to see them do is maybe push down mid. Mordekaiser, of course, can just push pretty fearlessly. He is very tanky, so I'd like to see them take down that mid turret and then go ahead and start warding up the jungle, which will give them a lot of vision over Baron. With that, Udyr looks to be building Wriggles. I guess they do have a somewhat fast Baron. Mordekaiser can help Maokai tank it. So
Ashe picking up that Infinity Edge. She is about 1,000 gold ahead of Miss Fortune, which is pretty significant for an AD carry.
Oh wow, yeah. She is losing the CS, but she did pick up 3 kills and 2 assists. So she does have a level disadvantage, 1 level behind MF, but about to hit level 11. So not the end of the world. Gonna get some extra scaling on that ulti, but it only does extra damage. It doesn't deal a larger stun. Mordekaiser getting caught by Nautilus in the jungle. This is the problem, like I was talking about. Lots of Mordekaisers feel invincible and just go Rambo. The ulti goes down, forced to flash over the wall, trading that 250-second cooldown on Ashe. The Ashe arrow, very nice. However, Ashe just terrible positioning, gets in melee range. Certainly going to go down, and now blue team doesn't want to fight this. A Ashe Ghost with an IE is going to deal a significant amount of damage. We do see Ethereum going quite low, and it looks like Donut Puncher does get stopped by that charm. Is going to instead back off, however, might go for that kill on Soraka. This is bad. Nautilus should not have gone back in there because he is now in a position to lose his oracles. Very nice hook shot, very nice flash. Is Ahri doesn't save the teammate with that charm. And this is effectively a 5v2 with that Ashe clone. It does deal stats. It is a level 2 ulti. So, Mordekaiser gains 20% of their ability power and AD. So, we are going to see, it's pretty much, it's not, I don't think it's exactly the damage of a full 80k, but it is very close and very tanky. As you do gain some of the health that Mordekaiser has. Does not look like purple in a very good position to push down mid, however, Ashe is back. We did say 21 minutes was the respawn timer on Dragon, and there it is. And I think blue team not really in the position to contest it. However, the hawk shot is used, I think, just for red. It looks like they're not going to go for the contest. Too late anyway. Wouldn't have been around in time. Maybe if they had the timer down. Instead, it looks like they just want to give blue buff to Ahri and red buff to Ashe. Ashe not really scaling very well with red buff because she does have her Q and W, which are kind of nice perma slows in the first place. Other champs like, you know, an Ezreal or hey, even a Misfortune who can really use the soft CC of that slow tacked onto the red buff to chase people down, making better use of her passive. At any rate, it does deal an extra chunk of true damage on top of each auto attack. Looks like Misfortune is just going to use her ulti to kind of force down this wave and go back. We might see Ashe Arrow going down on Janna, just going to get completely obliterated. Nautilus is around. Does have his ulti up. This is almost certainly going to be a kill on Janna. Instead, they switch over to the Misfortune. Nice hook shot. And maybe want to go for the ulti onto Janna. Gonna go for the dive. No, instead deciding to back off. And it looks like a kill was picked up on Ahri with a 3-person tower dive. Mordekaiser able to pick up that ghost. However, not really any map objectives up for either team other than just turrets. Dragon has gone down. Both of blue team's buffs are down. Red buff is up for purple team, but they are so happy to just sit in this jungle. Soraka actually getting split from the rest of her team. Mordekaiser not deciding to chase. Udyr is around. The Ahri pet does. I've always wanted a pet Ahri. That sounds fun. Maybe I should start playing Mordekaiser. It does look like Nautilus has not picked up another Oracles. He is quite squishy at the moment. Really needs to get, I think, some levels if he wants to be able to tank. Nautilus can be one of the tankiest champions in the league with that shield that scales based on his percentage of HP. Udyr pretty much at level 5, his turtle stance is never going to give him more than 220, which means once Nautilus hits 2.2k HP, he is going to have a tankier shield than the Udyr, because it scales off of 10% of his bonus health.
Smith watching getting red buff, you know, that's going to be a really big...
Oh, sorry, that's only bonus health, so I'm wrong on that. Turtle Stance Udyr does look like it does give a little bit more HP. However, actually, the base scaling on Titan's Wrath is 280, so that is a very significant shield. Nautilus probably going to pick up the Frozen Heart. Would also be great to see him get a Randuin's, which is very effective both against Udyr and Misfortune, two big auto attackers. So a Randuin's and a Frozen Heart. If they get that slow from the Warden's Mail component of Randuin's and the Frozen Heart, just kind of a passive AS debuff, you are going to see a lot of something like 50-60% less damage coming out of the hands of Misfortune and Udyr. Randuin's Omen, of course, a very, very underrated anti-AD tank item. Not enough people buy it. You see a lot of Frozen Hearts, but the slow on Randuin's is much more potent, but it is a little bit RNG based. Nautilus, of course, scaling.
Not to one game.
Say what?
Sometimes you even see 3-person hearts in one game.
Oh yeah, we did see that. Actually, you know, I was commentating on that at one of our in-house games the other day. We saw a Rise, a Maokai, and I believe a Skarner. No, sorry, a
Yep.
Rise, a Skarner, and it was a solo top. I don't remember who. Anyway, they all picked up Frozen Heart, and I said, this isn't the smartest play from them. That is about 3k gold that they're wasting because that unique passive doesn't stack. And then, what do you know, the next day at OGN we see CLG, Hotshot, and St. Vicious both picking up a Frozen Heart. The same thing applies. Anyway, blue team made the mistake of sending 2 people bot 25 minutes into the game. It does look like they're going to go ahead and pick up a free Baron. The Ash Arrow comes out, is going to connect with Janna. The Nautilus ult not really being totally effective. Of course, knocking up people as it goes through. It looks like maybe Riven does get ghosted. That is going to be a very scary ghost. However, it is melee range. Ash trying to pick up a lucky kill. Soraka needs to maybe get a silence down. A nice charm coming out from Ahri, but it is only single target. She doesn't have that Rylai's to slow him down, and just so much damage coming out from purple team. I think I would like to see them maybe push and not go for the Baron, but no, they are going to do, I think, a little bit of a safer choice to instead go ahead and do that. We'll see. Maybe. I don't like this Ahri going back, but she was able to pick up Rylai's, which is going to really, you know, you saw in that last fight, she was able to get some nice AoE damage with her Q, W, and R, but it didn't have any utility to it. Ahri, without the Rylai's, her only utility is that single target taunt, that charm. So we do see about a 33-minute respawn timer, 33 minutes and 20 seconds into the game. Baron is going to be respawning. Purple team has picked it up. All 5 members of Purple, since none of them went down in that fight, all 5 members of Purple do have that Baron buff, which gives you, you know, effectively something, I think like 3,000 gold per member for the duration of the buff. So it does give you a huge advantage. A little bit of AD and AP is nice, but really the reason it is so powerful is it gives you percentage of max HP regeneration, which if you are a tank and you get down to half health in an engage, with Baron buff, you can back off. The enemy team has to go back, but you can just kind of sit there and regen a lot of HP from that Baron buff. And what that means is that these long pushes that Purple's going to want to start making to take some turrets will really go in their favor more and more. We do see an Udyr picked up. Udyr has picked up an Oracles. No Oracles on the side of blue team right now. And it looks like Udyr might be a little bit... Oh no, he does see wards coming in. Gets tagged by that slow. Nautilus has his ulti. Ashe has her arrow. But they're instead deciding that they don't want to engage on this because the rest of the team is Mia. Soraka maybe going to get caught. Ahri does finally pick up a blue. Oh, and this could be very bad for Soraka. Forced to flash over the wall. A nice job from Nautilus to use that ulti and does a hook shot to the turret to safety. Just going to run away for now, I think. Maokai would make a mistake if he engaged on the tank under turret range, taking a lot of damage, but like I said, if we look at this Maokai's regeneration, 114 HP per 5, gonna get it back up to health in about 30 seconds. And instead, Purple's just gonna use, it looks like they're gonna pick up a free dragon. Blue team not really gonna want to fight this when they have a 6k gold disadvantage and going into a fight against Baron buff. So the smite comes down, that is a free dragon for Purple, wasting a little bit of time on their Baron buff to pick that up as it was uncontested. However, they're going to now transition into a nice push. Don't really have the biggest minion wave. They're definitely going to be able to get this turret. However, we do see a cannon minion wave coming. We'll see if they continue to push bot. Bot is probably, by the way, the best lane to push this late in the game, because if Baron respawns and Purple team finds himself at a little bit of a, you know, disadvantage, if they have the like, you know, if Blue is able to maybe stage a comeback, having your bot inhib down while Baron is up means that you have to have someone bot lane to keep those super minions away from your Nexus turrets. Hoopster actually getting caught with a little bit of a charm, not going to be engaged on. Maokai pops his Shredder's Reverie, looks like he's going to go for the engage. Tags Nautilus, not the best target, however, Nautilus going down so fast. Ash gets her arrow out. MF, wow, so much damage coming out from blue team. I think MF, instead of auto-attacking, decided to use her ulti, which doesn't scale all the way. Oh, and a nice flash from Ahri, but unfortunately, that charm just barely out of range. And now, Misfortune and Janna, two very, very, very fast champions. Misfortune with that strut passive gives her flat move speed. One of the only abilities in the game to give flat move speed. And of course, Janna with that percentage move speed buff from her level 5 Zephyr makes her move 16% faster. So there was no way blue team was able to chase on that. However, so much damage coming out from the side of blue team, able to take the Baron buff off the 3 tanks, or at least the 3 melees of purple. Mordekaiser not so much a tank as he is an AP carry. And I don't really know what went wrong there. It'd be great if this client had some sort of
action replay?
Yeah. Action replay, or maybe a damage log that says
I think the real big problem there was Misfortune decided to ult push the creep wave away as opposed to start auto attacking.
I know. I think she actually did that thinking about damage. She did get the ulti on top of all of them. However, it only deals about 150 per wave. So 150 damage per wave. She just crit a minion for 500 damage. I think you would be getting more damage out of those auto attacks. And plus you'd have the red buff slow, the impure shots to reduce healing and things like that. It did look like Riven had a very nice ulti that executed 2 or 3 of them, obviously dealing more damage in an AoE, but dealing more damage the lower the enemies are on health. She has 360 plus 114 on that ulti. Not yet level 3, it's going to probably go up to around 600, 700 total physical damage at a low health enemy at its final rank. However, tons of damage coming off of that Riven onto the enemy team. Did look like Ashe got a decent arrow onto Udyr. I think Udyr just being a bit overzealous, thinking that he's unstoppable, when really he isn't. Only 130 armor and MR, around 147 MR. Maybe wants to complete, I'd say, a Frozen Heart. He does have a Shurelya's Reverie, which gives him a nice amount of health, but not really going to do a whole lot to stop that Ashe. Ashe, of course, countered very, very hard by Randuin's Omen. Since all of her damage comes from auto attack, she only has that volley and ulti to deal extra damage. Just has to keep kiting people, and if you put that Randuin slow down on Ashe, it makes it very hard for her to actually kite you. I don't know, if I was purple, I think they should really see the oh, and sorry, by the way, final note about that team fight. Janna not really in the midst of it to get that ulti down. When I play Janna, I think the most effective way to play her is to sort of get in a melee range and use your Q and your ulti to really deal as much AoE CC as possible. She was kind of very far in the back. I didn't see if she even used her ulti, but even if she did, it was only for the heal component, not so much for the knockback component, whereas Nautilus and Riven were kind of in the midst of the enemy team. So I think we're going to see Udyr maybe being a little bit more passive until he gets those bigger items built up. Because blue team has just proved that they're not afraid to fight. They do still have a 10k gold disadvantage. However, that last fight was very one-sided. Poking through that Baron buff, able to get a 3-for-0 exchange. And with that Ashe arrow to initiate, by the way, one of the best initiates in the game, we could see if purple team makes any sort of positioning mistake, could be a very one-sided fight for blue. Can't remember exactly what time Baron was up. However, we do see Baron is down on both Misfortune and Baron and Janna, so it is going to be very soon. I think it's around 34, right?
I think it spawns within the next 20 seconds.
Oh wow, okay, 33.
33-20 or 33-19.
A ping going off on purple, and this is smart. They know that blue is still defending their base. They're going to steal that red. They are probably going to maybe want to push bot out a little bit more. No, instead just going to not going to go for that inhib. Yeah, Baron has just spawned 33-20. Purple team maybe going to actually set up the bait. Blue team has absolutely no vision in this area. This entire walk to Baron could be bad for them. They're waiting around 5 of them mid. I don't think they realize Baron has respawned. A little bit of miscommunication here. Purple team's going to take that almost for free, I think. Yeah, definitely going to be free. I think the blue team may be deciding they don't want to even contest. Ashe with her hawk shot, very good at kind of... Ooh, this is risky play from her. She didn't use her hawk shot. They have no vision. They could have very easily gotten, they didn't know that, obviously we know because we have global vision, but they didn't know that all the purple team wasn't in that brush. Deciding to use volley instead of hawk shot, taking a little bit of a long way around. Maokai gonna use his Shurelya's Reverie, try and get an engage. What are they doing
note before the next team fight starts? Blue team has level 15, level 16, level 15, level 14, level 14. Well, purple has 17, 18, 18, 15, and 15.
Yeah.
So
Although
purple has a huge level advantage.
Yeah, it is interesting to note. Misfortune, 2.7k gold. Udyr, 3.7k gold. Mordekaiser, 2.2k gold. I think it's a mistake to not go back and buy. We saw a little bit of overconfidence from them last time around. Nautilus, Janna going so aggressive with her ulti. Lots of, that was such a bad mistake. You don't want to use that ulti offensively this late in the game. Tons of damage coming out from this Ashe. However, Riven not able to get that second tick of her ulti off. The Soraka falls down.
Riven goes do so much damage.
Yeah, tons of damage coming out of that Riven Ghost. However, Ashe is able to take it down. Flash in from Mord. He's going to go down. This Ashe has her last Whisper built up. A lot stronger than this Misfortune right now, who has
Iris survives with 70 health.
3.1k gold. I think that was very poorly played from Purple Team. They didn't go back and spend the gold that they built up. They didn't decide to use that Janna ult defensively. Instead, Janna, I mean, it was a decent ult in terms of the knockback it provided. However, they were just able to turn around and turn it into a 4v5. Janna with a relatively low cooldown on her shield, able to throw out tons of effective health in these team fights if she can stay alive. Maybe would have been, you know, we saw like a double turret dive there while the Ashe was still up. Just such aggressive play, getting a little bit cocky from Purple Team. They did lose the Baron buff on Janna, not the biggest deal, and the Baron buff on Mordekaiser, that is a little bit more significant. Misfortune still has it. Finally going to go back, going to spend this 3.2k gold that she's built up, probably on a Phantom Dancer and hopefully the start of a Last Whisper. Although lots of armor on the blue team. I think in terms of the overall damage she's able to output, she probably would have dealt a little bit more just picking up a Last Whisper. However, she sells both her Doran's Rings and is just barely able to afford one. In terms of the atomization we see right now, we do see Ashe hasn't yet completed her Phantom Dancer. However, she does have the gold to do it. That's 60 and 50 combined cost once you have your Zeal. So she does have, I think, about equal gold to the MF, 11k to 11k. 300 gold in the advantage of Ashe. We'll see if maybe she picks up a green elixir, and that's the amount of DPS necessary to win a team fight, something crazy like that. However,
I think the Last Whisper rush is important because look at Mordekaiser's armor right now. That's ridiculous. 218 armor with the W on means that he is incredibly tanky. 188 without it. So yeah. Ashe's Last Whisper rush was definitely a very good idea.
And I think we're probably going to see 46 penetration. Yep. 46 penetration on this Ashe. That's a combination of the armor pen mastery, the percentage armor pen mastery, and the a nice charm goes down on Maokai. They're gonna commit to this with that Ashe arrow. Very nicely done. Blue team just showing that they're not afraid. Very far behind in gold. They are at 13k in in the rear, but they're not afraid to use this huge engage potential that they've got. Ahri lands a charm, Nautilus lands an ult, and then Ashe just follows it up with the free Ashe arrow once they're already stunned. And it is huge for blue team. In the advantage right now, Misfortune actually getting caught. Wow, she is going to go down very, very fast. Ashe has the Mordekaiser Ghost on her. This is very bad for blue team. That Ghost, they really need to disengage right now, unless they can kill the Mordekaiser, which it looks like they are. But so much damage coming out from that Ashe Ghost. Takes the Mordekaiser back up to full health. This could be the end for blue team. Looks like Udyr chasing the Udyr. This is almost certainly going to be an ace. If not, they're at least going to be able to push. I think that they really didn't realize maybe that Ashe Ghost had gone down. The Janna Tornado just barely missing. However, Udyr, Janna so fast, so much chase potential, and Ahri almost certainly going to go down here. There's the kill, there's the ace, and meanwhile, Mordekaiser has lost his Ghost. So that Ashe Ghost.
See, here's why that team fight fails for blue team, because Ashe, Nautilus, and I believe Ahri as well all use their ultimates just to kill that Maokai. And sure, you know, a kill on the tank is good and all, but walking into the middle of mid lane and getting caught by enemy 14, for the enemy team who all have their ultimates up, it's just not good at all. Mordekaiser managed to...
I don't know. I think that blue team really did a very good job getting the pick on Maokai and Misfortune, but they should have disengaged the second Mordekaiser showed up and got that Ghost on Mord. You saw just one or two crits from the IE PD LW Ghost brought Mordekaiser back up to full heal, and then he popped his Janya's, and then a very nice ulti from Janna knocked them all back. And they should have just been like, you know what, we gotta get out of here. Instead, they wanted to keep fighting. 630 health extra on this Mordekaiser with his level 18 shield, and 220 armor. They just, once Ashe died, they really didn't have the damage to it. Also, I would have liked to see the Ashe pick up a QSS instead of that Phantom Dancer, you really don't need the Phantom Dancer for damage on pretty much any AD carry. If you have IE, Last Whisper, and a Zeal, you're going to be throwing out so much attack damage, physical damage. And if you have 1.5 attack speed, you're kind of losing a little bit of it, because that's a lot of AS to be throwing out. And as Ash, you really want to kite. You want to auto attack and take a step back. Auto attack and take a step back. However, a very good Ash arrow clips this Misfortune. She's gonna go down. Udyr also gonna go down. Purple team really playing this like a solo queue game where they're all split 30-40 minutes into the game against Ash. Not what you really want to be doing, and blue team still not afraid of the purple team. A couple of failed engages from them, and I really hope this VOD to kind of understand where they went wrong. They got very behind in farm, but they have been able to just kind of carry themselves through this game by getting very, very good engages. And I think had they not lost Ash in this last team fight here, it could have actually been their game to take. It was a 5v3 mid lane against a team with no AD carry and no tank. But then they just got baited a little bit by this Mord, who is so tanky right now. And if he gets that ghost down, we need to see how much gold does Ash have. 1440 is the total cost of that QSS. However, she has actually picked it up. So hopefully she can use this the second that Children of the Grave goes down. Obviously, if Ash is sticking around low on health, it will still pick up the kill. Baron spawning soon. Are we going to see another arrow from Ash? Mordekaiser kind of waiting here. He's too aggressive. He does, I think, get spotted by Soraka. They know he's there. Instead, blue team just going to decide to go for this Baron. It is already down to half health. Udyr, MF, not in a position to stop it. We might actually see a steal. Oh, no, but very nicely done. Just using that arrow very early on. Able to pick up the kill. And a lot of CC going down on Mordekaiser. He does have that GA. Is he going to be able to catch the Ghost? Ghost does go down on a Ribbon. He does get it. And the GA is up, and this is yet another team fight where Purple just gets that Mordekaiser Ghost and uses it to their advantage. Once again, blue team using a lot of CC and damage on the tank, and then not deciding to back off and wait for those cooldowns. And Ahri is forced to kind of sit here. Riffit's Ghost lagging behind a little bit, but you can see it has 237 AD, 469 AP, and 3.3k HP. So very, very, very tanky. Tons of damage coming out. And it looks like this is going to be game for purple team. Blue team just not in a position to defend this 3v1. All three inhibs are down. I think even if they don't finish the game here by taking the Nexus, it is going to be a very slow push for purple team. Clearly 20k in the lead. A couple of bad team fights from blue team. After very good picks, they just got a little bit too greedy to try and fight the 5v3s when they were weaker. But at any rate, you know, when a team is able to pull off those picks and get those kills, when they are 20k gold behind, it is indicative of very high levels of teamwork. So if purple team is maybe going to be watching this VOD at a later date, really all you have to do is say, you know what, guys, we really need to work on kind of our awareness of how our games are going. Ash in such a dominant position all game. However, I think the mistake she made was not picking up that QSS earlier. You know, a strong push down mid in a 3v5 with the AD carry from that blue team could have won the game. So at any rate, I'm going to say very well played from both teams.
Purple team, very close game.
I think purple team had the stronger kind of mechanics. Obviously, the gold advantage sort of drawing out of that farm that they were able to get, but blue team really showing the amount of coordination they have, and I think mechanics aren't everything in this game. It is a team game, and if you focus all about elo and you know, stats and farm and things like that, and don't really think about, you know, working as a team as purple did. Purple team very nearly throwing the game, not really wanting to group up against a team with the engage of Ash, Nautilus, and Ahri, and Riven just dealing so much damage in those team fights, could have thrown the game. So purple team, your mechanics are excellent. You really, really out CS'd the enemy team, and you had some very nice plays in team fights, able to throw out a lot of damage. Blue team, it is very evident that your team has a lot of coordination. However, I think a little bit of extra work on that mechanics, and it is very important to to go ahead and really think about build orders, which are actually surprised. You know, there isn't a whole lot of itemization available in this game, but the mistakes made on your team, such as Ari not picking up a Woda against the sustained damage of Mordekaiser, Ash not picking up a QSS before finishing for PD, also a big mistake. Anyway, overall, very well played for both teams. It was a blast to cast this. Genocide George obviously joining me in the studio here for his inaugural casted game. How was it? I didn't really let you talk. I'm sorry. Probably
Nah,
should have.
you can't do domination over most of the game, but keep trying to throw out some facts here and there, and you're just like, oh, Mr. Milk's going to talk over me. I'm like,
I am.
just chill a bit.
Yeah. Well, we can go ahead and cast another one, and you can be a little bit more aggressive with what you want to say. I am going to go ahead and end this recording. These days, what we're doing is we're having one group of players while I'm in this game casting are going to get the second game running. So now what it means is I'm ready to end this recording and hop into another casted game. Here we go. By the way, if you are joining us on the stream, and of course, if you're watching this VOD at a later date, be sure to go ahead and join Reddit in-house channel on the NA server. This is where we organize a lot of the games. Alternatively, if you go to milkcast.com, you can see the IRC chat just set up today, so it's probably going to be a little bit dead. However, hopefully that grows. I will be AFKing in there 24/7. So if you want to ask me a question or maybe send me a message, go ahead and do that over there. So I'm going to say GGWP, very well played from both teams, and I'm going to go ahead and end this recording and then move on to the next game.